Magical Arcana by Cuttlefish That Loves Diving, read by Luna. Chapter 11 Findings. A big pile of trash was in the backyard garden. It took Lucien a couple of rounds to throw it away. To keep the city clean, there were people collecting trash every morning. But the fancy association just could not tolerate the trash piling up in their garden for a whole day. After finishing the work, Lucien sneaked into the hall and moved around the margins of the round hall towards the gate. Damn it, Wolf! Can you just leave me alone for 1 second and let me focus on my music? He heard a deep and rich voice which turned sharp in the end. At the same time, a man wearing a red coat rushed down from the stairs. Then he ran right into Lucien. Bang! Something heavy fell down on the carpet, making a dull noise. Victor nearly lost his footing. Taking a deep breath, Victor bent down and picked up a broken lamp which had fallen down from Lucien's pile of trash. Sorry. He gave the lamp he picked up from the carpet back to Lucien. Another brown-haired man wearing dark blue long coat walked down from the stairs. There was a noticeable arch on his chin. Victor, you're not the only musician here. I can do whatever I want. If you have a problem with it, then go back home. The smile on his face became even bigger. I know. There are only 3 months left before your concert, and I understand. I'm so looking forward to it. I'll write an article for you on music criticism, especially for you. Bastard! Let's see when you can have your own concert. Swearing in a low voice, Victor turned around and left the hall quickly. The moment Victor turned his back, the smile disappeared from Wolf's face. He walked back while murmuring, "That place should be mine." After seeing their argument, Lucien continued carrying the trash to the gate. Then he saw the broken lamp decorated with fancy patterns, and the bottom of the lamp was made of metal. Dumping the trash into the cart, Lucien picked up the lamp. It felt like copper but more flexible. It would probably sell for several fells at the smith's shop. For a poor guy like Lucien, everything he saw would be related to money. Wait, maybe I can find more useful items like paper and quills in this pile. Now, this pile of trash was a treasure for Lucien. His heart was full of surprise and excitement. Although the rich people would not even bother looking at it, for Lucien this was his first chance of changing his life. 5 silver nars was sufficient for 1 month's educational cost. Besides, he got an entire library inside his mind which could be constantly expanded. If he was able to learn how to read, he trusted that he would discover better ways for making a fortune. Lucien felt energized just thinking about his future. Feeling excited, he pulled his cart out of the city, but he was also worried. No one liked old strings from trash. I just gotta be careful. If Aaron's gang caught wind of this, they're gonna demand more from me. After Lucien's fight in the sewers, his fear for this world and towards gangsters diminished. He knew more about how to fight than they did. After leaving the hall, Lucien saw a silver-haired man walking leisurely towards the association. Ryan? What's he doing here? Lucien did not think much about it. It was not strange for a bard visiting such a reputable place. Andre was at the gate. He recognized Lucien and saw his fully loaded cart. He just waved his hand and let him leave out of the city. Although excited, Lucien did not easily lower his guard. After a 20-minute walk from the gate, Lucien finally stopped at a quiet place along the Bellem River. Rummaging through the trash, Lucien got some useful stuff. A broken lamp, several dusty pieces of metal, 8 worn-out quills, and some bundles of paper, etc. Finally, Lucien pulled out a nice-smelling, damaged black lace. It looked like a veil, which might once belong to a female musician. Without any erotic imagination, all Lucien thought about was money. It got a fine craft. Maybe I can sell it to a tailor, who can probably use this as a decoration. Wrapping that stuff with some paper, Lucien hid them in the grass. Then he continued pulling his cart downstream to the place where the trash was piled up. He was surprised that the dump site was much smaller than he thought. The river beside it was very clean. No one was there except for Lucien. While smelling the awful stench emitted from the trash, Lucien started his rummaging again. In this world, nobody picks up trash for a living? Lucien wondered. Maybe they're afraid of catching any disease. However, Lucien's empty purse was clearly more of a threat to him than getting sick, which might or might not happen. Wrapping his hand with waste papers, he found something which was probably worth a few fells. It was his first time, so Lucien was extremely cautious. He hid some of the stuff and went back for his paper parcel. Hiding his findings under a dirty old bag in his cart, Lucien tried to flatten the bag as much as he could to make it look like the cart's cover. Lucien stuffed the small things into his pocket. It was much easier than he thought. The guards just waved their hands and let him in after shooting a glance at him. When Lucien was pulling his cart towards Andre and Meg, he realized why the guards just let him pass easily. Covering their noses, Andre and Meg's eyebrows were twisted together when they saw him. Lucien was happy to see this. He pulled his smelling cart even closer to them and asked, "I'm Lucien. I've come here for pay." Meg immediately stepped back and took out the money while swearing, "Damn you! Fuck off with your stinking cart." Andre, with his consistent smile, was standing even further. "Your first time going to the river, isn't it? If you stay there until dark, you may get lucky. Just watch the ghost there." Without asking for the ghosts, Lucien quickly left with his pay to return the cart. He did not want any more trouble. Lucien made 5 bells in total for cleaning up the garbage. However, his findings were more important than them. With them, he could easily earn 5 nars. After returning home, Lucien hurriedly hid the rest of the stuff and then rushed to the market. Lucien took it directly to a tailor without even cleaning the veil. He was rushing with quite a bit of excitement. However, when Lucien was standing in front of a tailor shop, he became hesitant. He would probably get scolded or turned out of the door before he could even open his mouth. Lucien's face was flushed, like when he tried to do sales at the university. "Come on, don't be a coward, Lucien. Don't feel it's shameful." Lucien started encouraging himself. "What can your dignity do for you now? Can your dignity turn into dark bread into white one? Or can it offer you steak, codfish, and wine? Can dignity teach you reading?" Lucien had experienced quite a bit after coming to this world. He had even wobbled on the borderline of death. He quickly made up his mind and walked into the shop with firm footsteps. An old man wearing glasses was sitting in the shop. Noticing Lucien entering, he asked with confusion, "Yes?" Lucien's dressing obviously showed that he was too poor to even visit an expensive tailor. Smiling with great enthusiasm, Lucien rubbed his hand. "Hello, sir. I got a nice black lace, and I was wondering if you're interested in it." Before Lucien could even finish his words, he was cut in by the old man fiercely. "A flying black lace from you! Get lost, you damned thief!" He walked out of the counter and pushed Lucien out. "I, old Forau, am a decent tailor. I only buy clothes from the lots." Being driven out of the first shop, Lucien had no choice but to find the next one, and he would try a different approach this time. Chapter 12. Lucien's first 80 fells. "Get out. We don't need anything from you." It was the third time that Lucien got rejected. These fancy tailors always hated poor guys like Lucien. Even when Lucien showed the lace, they were still not willing to waste a single second on him. It was a big market, more than 10 streets that crossed with each other. There were lots of different shops run by humans, dwarfs, and elves. Soon Lucien found another neat little tailor's shop at the end of the street. Standing behind the counter was a 15 or 16-year-old boy with blonde hair. "Hi, I'm Buster. Anything I can help you with?" Yes. Could you take a look at this lace, please?" Lucien placed the veil on the counter. Buster gently rubbed it with his fingers under the light and got surprised. "Sir, is the Black Nightingale from the Kingdom of Home? Where did you get it?" Like other tailors, Buster knew Lucien could not afford this lace. Sometimes even rich people might not be able to buy a small piece of Black Nightingale. All noble ladies wanted it. Lucien lowered his voice. "Don't worry, it's clean." "Clean?" A 30-something-year-old man walked out from behind. The thin-faced man was MacDowell, the owner of this shop. Lucien was surprised that they did not immediately drive him away, which was a promising signal. "Yes, yes, I swear in the name of God. You see, there is a hole in it. It was abandoned by a noble lady and I just happened to find it. Turn it into a decoration on a dress or a band. I think with your hands, you can definitely make it become eye-catching again, sir," Lucien added eagerly. Taking the lace from Buster's hand, MacDowell had a close look. After a moment's thinking, he asked calmly, "How much do you want, then?" Lucien clenched his fists in excitement but did not dare show it on his face. "Come on, Lucien. You fought with the huge crazy rats before. Stay calm." Lucien secretly consoled himself. Your offer, sir? I believe your price wouldn't let me down. Lucien smiled and answered. Looking into Lucien's eyes, McDowell paused a little bit. 40 fells. It not much use to me with a hole in it. An hour. A fancy dress with a black nightingale on it, even distinguished ladies and madams will fight for it. Lucien more than doubled the offer. McDowell shook his head and handed the lace back to Lucien. 50 fells. I cannot go any more than this. I'm sorry, but thank you anyway, sir. Lucien calmly turned around and was ready to leave. Actually, he was very nervous. He was worrying that he might lose his only chance for being greedy. Step by step, Lucien dragged his feet towards the exit. When he was about to leave the shop, McDowell's voice suddenly came from behind. 80 fells, my last offer. I'm only paying this much because the lace is a perfect match for one of my dresses. Great! Lucien waved his fist joyfully and then turned around and smiled. Deal, sir. Tinkling coins bulged Lucien's pocket. For Lucien, nothing was more lovely than getting rich. I don't know you, and I don't care either, but if in the future you got some good stuff like this, you could bring it here, as long as it's clean. McDowell added. Sure, sir. Thank you. Lucien slightly bowed and smiled. After stepping out of the shop, Lucien found the sunshine was very brilliant under the amazingly blue sky. Breathing the fresher than ever air, Lucien found this world was kind of lovely as well. 80 fells was pretty decent for him. For Lucien, he found his idea of collecting money actually worked. This was even more important to him. Ivan was waiting for Lucien near his home. He waved his hand as soon as he saw Lucien coming. Lucien, there you are. My mom sent me to invite you for dinner. My brother's home. John? Ivan's older brother? Lucien tried to recall. John's night squire in training. It was not really safe for him to carry so much money everywhere with him. Just a moment, Ivan. I gotta wipe my sweat a bit. Lucien smiled. Sure, Lucien. Ivan looked more excited than usual. You know what? John brought a piece of beef from Lord Ven. We're gonna have beef stew tonight. His little dirty face was full of excitement and expectancy. I haven't had any meat stew for quite a while. Actually, little Ivan's family was not as poor as most people living in Aderon. As a busker, Joel's income could vary sometimes, but it was still better than labor's. Eliza worked as a laundrymaid as well, but they were always saving for John's training back in the days. Old Evans, Lucien's father, helped them quite a lot before. After hiding the money safely, Lucien quickly washed his face and followed Ivan towards Aunt Eliza's place. A bunch of neighbors were gathered in front of the cabin. Little John's now the sword knight squire following Lord Ven, isn't he? Yes, Eliza told me herself. Little John's not even 19 yet. One day he might get lucky and awaken the endowed blessing in his blood. Then he's gonna be a real knight. Then no more Little John. We shall say Lord John. John can also be the commander of the city guard as a night squire now. Joel and Eliza are so lucky. They must be very proud of their son. Ivan was nodding with great pride. As they entered the living room, a blond young man stood up from the chair. Inheriting his father's look, John was a handsome young lad, tall and straight. His elegant gesture was quite impressive to Lucien. I was quite worried hearing what happened to you, Lucien. John patted Lucien's shoulder and smiled. Glad to see you. You're all right now. I guess it was a test for you from God. Although he was just 1 or 2 years older than Lucien, John appeared much more mature. His grey night attire also made him quite out of ordinary. Thanks, John. It was not a big deal, really. Auntie Eliza always worries about me. Lucien nodded. When they sat down around the dinner table, John laid his hand on Lucien's shoulder. Why do I feel strangeness between us? Come on, we're best friends. I guess you've changed quite a lot since you left home. Lucien was a little bit nervous. John nodded seriously. Yes, I'd say so. Training there changed me a lot, both physically and mentally. It was very hard, but I gained a lot from it as well. Dinner was not a feast. They only got beef stew and roasted fish on the table. But for Lucien, this dinner was beyond delicious. He devoured his serve and even bit his tongue a few times. The happy reunion was so sweet that Joel even got a rare chance to enjoy his beef with ale. Eliza talked even more during the dinner. Most of the time, she was the only one who kept talking all the way. A couple of words from Joel, Lucien, or Ivan were enough to keep her going. According to the rules of a knight, John did not talk very much. I'm stuffed. The happy dinner ended with little Ivan's loud burp. John smiled and shook his head. Ivan, eating too much is bad for you. Then he turned to Lucien. Have you got any future plan? He asked. Carefully arranging his words, Lucien nodded. Yeah, it was still unclear, but I don't want to live a life like what I'm doing now. Good. John looked into his eyes. Lord Wen told us, being unsatisfied with your life pushes you to move forward. The bakery and cellar in Lord Wen's manor was now looking for apprentices. It's a pretty good chance, but you gotta work there for 10 years. If you're interested in this job, just tell me by next Monday. People in this world also believed in the myth that God created everything in 7 days. They also attended church every single Sunday. Being a night squire was very promising. Now John was able to help his family and friends. Although the help could not change their lives completely, it was still of great importance. Thank you, John. Honestly, Lucien was still reluctant to constrain himself in the following 10 years, especially when he had just made his first small fortune. But he still wanted to think for some time before making a decision. Alright, I gotta go back now. John stood up from his chair and hugged his family, and he gave Lucien a big hug. I wish you could read, Lucien. Downey is looking for a clerk for the court. It's a very decent job with nice payment. Actually, I'm planning to start studying. Lucien seized the chance and told John. John was quite surprised. Soon he smiled and nodded. I'll see if there is any chance for you. Lucien thanked John again, sincerely, but he also did not place all his hope on John. He had to work on his own. For the following 3 days, Lucien did not find anything valuable like the black nightingale, but he still managed to save a gnar and 64 fells. Now he was walking towards the city gate as usual, with great confidence. Looking at Lucien's back, Andre nudged Mag a bit. Why does he leave the city every morning? Leave the city? An amiable voice came from behind them. Andre hurriedly turned around, looking serious. Morning, Jackson. Jackson Riodors, one of the leaders of the Aaron gang, had a kind face, but his craftiness and treacherousness could definitely place him at the top of the group. Chapter 13 Sudden Attack. Holding his chin, Jackson put on a kind smile. Morning, Andre. What's going on here? Not a big deal, Jackson, Andre responded in a flattering way. A guy is recently going out of the city every day. I was just wondering. Interesting. Does he carry anything with him? Somehow, Jackson's smile was kind of frightening, which for a moment gave both Andre and Mag goosebumps. Mag believed in both the god of truth and his own fist, and claimed that he carried 1/16th of the savage blood from Yaren Highland. However, his brain did not work as well as his fist. Jackson's question was too demanding for him. I remember he always carries an old sack. Sometimes he comes back with something in it. There are many mushrooms near the Belem River. No, not mushrooms. Jackson cut in. Then what else could a poor guy like him do? Andre asked nervously. Facing the Belem River and the Melzer Black Forest, the gate that Andre and Mag were watching was the busiest one among the 3 gates of Alto. Countless merchants, adventurers, and plain folks came back and forth every day. They never bothered paying extra attention to a poor boy like Lucien. Jackson came for a reason. The blacksmith Rego came to me 2 days ago. A young lad sold him a nice piece of orichalcum. What? Orichalcum, or mountain copper. Only wealthy nobles can afford it. Although the one he got was of the lowest quality, it was still quite enough to forge a fine dagger. Rego wanted to find more, so he came to me. Lucien sold that? Mag asked directly. Jackson slightly nodded. He was careful. The metal was polished, so Rego couldn't find any clues. It took me a whole day to find him, but he visited a couple of smiths. They remembered him. And you know him as well? Perfect, Jackson added. Then what should we do? Andre asked eagerly. Follow him and find where he found the mountain copper. If he notices you, bid the shit out of him and then ask. His money is all yours. Understood. Mag answered before Andre. It has been more than 2 weeks since he gave someone a good beating. He always got excited when it came to beating someone. Carrying his old sack, Lucien was walking in the direction of the Belem River. I gotta use the other 2 gates more, Lucien thought. It's suspicious always taking the same way. Andre and Mag, they're always there. The 2 gates, one in the Purple Lily and the other in Nolan, were both far from his destination. Lucien sometimes would collect some mushrooms on his way back to disguise his real purpose, which took him more time. A figure flashed from behind him. Who's there? Lucien suddenly became alert. It was not the first time he found someone tracking him. Ever since his bitter fight under the sewers, he felt he became more sensitive to the surroundings now. Thanks to his sharp observation, he managed to get rid of those people who wanted to find out his secret. Pretending everything was fine, Lucien was seeking for a chance. When he arrived in a corner covered with thick grass and high trees, he dashed to a big tree with all his strength. Hiding behind it, Lucien quietly waited for the person. He was calm. He had to know who was following him to eliminate future troubles. A moment later, a sound of heavy footsteps, together with swearing, came from the place Lucien was previously at. The sound came around the corner, very close to where Lucien was standing before. Damn it, we lost him. I was right, Andre. We should catch and beat him up. Only that way he will tell us everything. Lucien was surprised. He did not expect that the Aaron gang would notice him so quickly. Feeling disappointed, Lucien decided to leave his home and hide somewhere with his money for a few days. He was waiting for Andre and Mag to leave first. I can still become an apprentice anyway, Lucien comforted himself silently. Andre and Mag knew what Jackson would do to them if they messed up. They were arguing with each other loudly. Mag, savages can scent. Andre suddenly smacked Mag's shoulder. Hey, scent what? You said those savages are like hounds and they can catch any scent in the wind. Andre was excited. You have savage blood. Try it. Yes, sometimes it doesn't work though. Max scratched his bald head. Lucien suddenly became really nervous. He still knew too little about this new world. Raising his head slightly, Mac took a long, deep breath. Then he shouted excitedly, I got his scent! There he is! He started running towards the tree. Mag had found him. As soon as Mag shouted, Lucien started running. Mag was surprisingly fast with his big muscles, and several times he almost caught Lucien. Lucien kept running through the trees to avoid Mag, but after the woods there was the open riverside. Lucien knew he could not escape anymore. I gotta beat Mag before the other guy comes. Lucien did not panic. Compared with those crazy red-eyed rats, Mag, although a bit big, was still a human being. Lucien was prepared. He heard Mag's excited howling coming close from behind him. Suddenly, Lucien stopped. He lowered his body and pushed his leg against the ground. He butted Mag hard with his strength. It was an unexpected attack. Mag swiftly tried to punch Lucien's head to avoid the attack, but he missed. Lucien passed right through Mag's arms. With the help of Mag's own momentum, Lucien's hard clenched fist ran into Mag's soft belly. Mag felt a hard rock hit his stomach. As he was yelling in pain, a strong acid rose from his throat. Lucien knew a single punch could not solve the trouble completely. Thus, 2 seconds later, he viciously attacked Mag's back with his elbow. Furthermore, almost at the same time, his lifted knee went straight between Mag's legs. Ah! It was a painful howling in the best savage style, and even Andre, who has always made fun of Mag's blood, could not deny that. Covering his private part, Mag was rolling back and forth on the ground in great pain, snarling angrily. Seeing all that, Andre couldn't help but feel bad for his companion, kind of feeling some kind of pain as well, so he ended up slowing down. Without a second's delay, Lucien turned around and ran away immediately. He saw a shining dagger in Andre's hand. Andre chased for a bit, but it was too late. Soon Lucien disappeared in the woods across the river. He finally stopped beside Mag. The weaker you are, the poorer you are. Those bastards just wouldn't let you have any chance. Lucien felt aggrieved. It was 9 in the morning. Sneaking back through the gate in the district of Nolan, Lucien was carefully approaching the shack in Alto. He needed to take his money before the gangsters found his place. After hiding behind a nearby cabin for a while, when Lucien was about to get out, a bunch of ferocious guys approached towards his shack. A common-looking man dressing neatly pointed to Lucien's place. Then another burly young guy directly gave a hard kick on the broken door. The door fell on the ground, leaving behind a cloud of dust. Chapter 14. Resolution. The guy who burst the door found the shack empty and reported this to the ordinary-looking man, Jackson. We did waste some time, but we shouldn't be late. Jackson smiled. Although Mag and Andre are useless, they still provided us with some good information. The others knew what happened to the big guy. When Jackson mentioned Mag, they somehow felt a chilly wind pass through their legs. Andre squeezed out an embarrassing giggling, but he was still glad that he did not have to lie in bed for at least a week. Andre, you go. See if there is anything in this pigsty. Several minutes later, Andre came out with a handful of small things. Just some rubbish, Jackson. Sigh. Lucien regretted not hiding this stuff elsewhere. It was very easy to tell where he found them. If the Aaron gang took control of the dump site, then it would be the end of his dream to become a rich man. Rubbish! Jackson curled his lips. A pretty smart young lad. He found the orichalcum in the dump site. Trash from the palace, nobles' areas, musicians' association, mercenaries' union all go to the dump site beside the river. They're useless for the rich people, but not for us. His guess was right. Thanks to the boy, we found a new way to make money. Fiddling with a piece of metal, Jackson commanded with his iconic smile. Smash all his stuff. Keep the money to yourselves. The one who finds the guy will be rewarded. Jackson did not bother sending his men searching for Lucien. They also got many things to do. Time was too precious to be wasted on a nobody like Lucien. Cheering loudly, they squeezed in Lucien's little shack and started smashing his stuff. Clenching his fists and gnashing his teeth, Lucien could tell from the sound that his table, followed by his clay pot, were shattered to pieces. But he knew that he could not do nothing against the gangsters with his current power. They would beat him to death, and he did not want to die like that. Law would not help him, since people above it would not care. If the witch had not gone to the cemetery, no one would have found her. Lucien's mind started wandering as the noise in the background faded. If I become a sorcerer, I can protect myself. I don't want much. After learning magic, I just need to find a place to live. I need to. Yes, I have no choice. Learning magic is dangerous, but being weak is no better. His locked up thoughts all started resurfacing, like being summoned by the evil actions around him. Eliza's shout cut off his wandering. You damned bastards! What the hell are you doing? While doing her housework, Eliza heard the mess coming from Lucien's place. Trying to stop them, she yelled and approached the gangsters while waving her long spoon. Get her away, said Jackson. Two ferocious men rolled up their sleeves and walked towards Eliza, but they underestimated the housewife standing in front of them. Auntie Eliza directly hit one of them on the forehead with her wooden spoon. Ouch! Facing the unexpected attack, the guy screamed in pain. But soon, more guys joined in. Although Eliza was tall and sturdy, she was, after all, still a woman. A hard punch hit her shoulder and her spoon fell onto the ground. Eliza groaned in pain, but still did not flinch. You wretches, stop! The inspectors are coming! Hiding behind a wall and watching all of this, Lucien's mind was filled with torment and suffering. Lucien, are you a man? Although he met Auntie Eliza many days ago, he did not have a very strong bond with her and her husband Joel. But now, when he saw Eliza get hurt because of him, he knew it was totally unacceptable for him to be hiding behind a woman and letting her fight for him. Fuck! Clenching his fist, Lucien took a quick glimpse at his shack and jumped out. His target was Jackson, who was standing there alone. Lucien threw himself at Jackson with all his might. Feeling extremely surprised, Jackson was suddenly knocked down by Lucien. They wrestled on the ground, and Lucien tried to hold Jackson's hands tightly with his left hand, in case the thug was carrying a dagger. Meanwhile, his right hand was trying to reach Jackson's throat. He needed to capture their leader to control the whole situation. However, Jackson was not inexperienced at all. He also had his share of fighting. Rolling on the ground, Jackson did not give Lucien any chance to grab his neck. At the same time, he continuously slammed his elbow at Lucien's rib. Due to the lack of space, Jackson's hits were not very strong, but still, for Lucien they were still unbearable. Wincing in pain, he still did not retrieve. He was almost there. He almost touched Jackson's throat. Suddenly, Lucien got a hard punch in his stomach. He was smashed hard on the ground by Jackson's men. Before he could stand up, fists and kicks started falling down on Lucien's body like raindrops. Lucien started rolling on the ground from unbearable pain, like a stray dog. He could barely cover his vital parts. Lucien's mind started wandering again. Everything seemed unreal and was fading away like in a movie. Auntie Eliza's crying voice came from another world. Stop! Stop! At that moment, Lucien made up his mind. Whatever it took, he must become strong. Jackson was standing on the other side, looking at Lucien rolling back and forth on the ground. He trampled him hard and stopped his men. His friend is a night squire. Let's not bring ourselves trouble. Although it was rumored that Rose and Aaron had some connections with a high noble, a gang still had to be relatively disciplined, or it would be eliminated by the church on nobles in no time. Lucien was lying on the ground with blood coming out of his nose and mouth. Jackson smiled to him. Actually, I respect your courage and intelligence. I really do. But, my boy, don't be too greedy. I hope you understand what's yours and what's not. Yes, Lucien answered simply in a hoarse voice. Lucien's answer was a little bit weird for him, but Jackson did not bother too much. Jackson and his men left in triumph, together with Lucien's collections and 45 fells. Chapter 15 For Justice. The morning sunshine was not very strong. Lucien was lying in the sun, covered with wounds and blood. Staring at the clear blue sky, breathing the fresh air gently, Lucien forgot the pain. His mind was waving like a deep ocean. Lucien realized that everything he had experienced before led him to his final decision, learning magic. Although he knew he had to be even more careful and cautious in the future, at the same time he felt more relaxed than ever before after making up his mind. There was even a smile on Lucien's bruised face. He felt he had genuinely grown up within the past couple of days, much faster than in his own world. The anger, the feeling of inferiority, and the sense of insecurity had blended together and pushed him to that decision. And he was also gifted with the library. So why not? Lucien asked himself, feeling relieved from his long-time repression. My poor Evans! Oh, my poor Evans! Are you all right? Eliza tried to hold Lucien's hand. The slight movement of his arms and legs made Lucien wince in pain. I'm okay, Auntie Eliza. They didn't want to kill me. Auntie Eliza held Lucien's arm and led him back to her place. She kept swearing with great anger. These bastards would be hanged and tortured in hell by endless flames. After cleaning the wounds, Eliza was about to ask Lucien what happened today. Before that, it seemed like she suddenly thought of something and her hands acted a bit awkward. Lucien, yes, Auntie Eliza? This is the thing. John's coming back today. Can you keep this to yourself without letting him know? You know, John, you are his best friend. If he hears about it, I'm afraid that he wouldn't be able to constrain himself from taking revenge. As a night squire, he would be in big trouble then. Knowing John was Auntie Eliza and Uncle Joel's great hope, Lucien nodded. Of course, it's not a big deal actually. Lucien put a hard smile. Eliza held Lucien's hand with tears in her eyes. Thank you, my little Evans. Are you trying to hide anything from me? It was John's voice. Wearing the grey night suit, John was standing by the door. Neither Eliza nor Lucien noticed him. Eliza answered hurriedly. Nothing. You came back earlier? John walked in and pulled a chair for himself. He sat down beside Lucien. The Grand Duke summoned Lord Ven, and I followed him back to Alto. Mom, I'm a night squire now. I'm not an imprudent young boy anymore. Then he turned to Lucien. You look much worse than the last time we got thrashed together. What happened? Don't try to lie. I bet lots of neighbors were there and saw it, John added. Lucien looked at Eliza, who had already compromised the secret. Then he told John the story in full detail. During his talking, Lucien could feel the tension in the air due to John's feelings, which was the same he felt from the guards he fought together in the sewers. Of course, John was very angry, but he managed to calm himself down quickly and he patted Lucien's hand gently and smiled. You're really clever, the most clever among us. Finding money in trash. Really good for you. I'm sure you will do a good job if you learn to read. Then, shrugging his shoulders, John went outside of the room and fetched a long wooden club from the kitchen. Oh no, Eliza sighed. Mom, you know I gotta do this, for my friend. But John, Lord Ven won't be happy about this. Yes, John, Lucien hurriedly asked. Don't go. It's not a big deal. Look at me. I'm okay. John turned around and shook his head. Lord Ven always told us, as a knight one is supposed to protect the weak and fight against the violent. As a squire, I already regard myself as a knight and try to follow the knight's belief. His eyes were intent, his gestures expansive. Lucien, my friend, was bullied, and his place got ruined. If I remain silent simply not to anger Lord Ven, my inner guiltiness will never leave me. Yes, maybe I will not be able to awaken the blessing anymore because I broke the rules, but I'll be faithful to my beliefs. Lord Ven will be on my side, I believe. I know, John, I know, but Eliza got tears in her eyes. John hugged his mom and comforted gently. It's okay, Mom. I'm not going to kill anyone. I will not overdo it. Look, I'm holding a club, not a blade. Can you trust me, Mom? Finally, Eliza nodded with great effort. Do be careful, John. They're the ones who have to be careful, Mom. Grabbing the club, John smiled with confidence. When he was about to leave, Lucien called him from behind. Wait, John. Yeah? John looked back. With all his remaining strength, Lucien stood up from the bed. He felt his blood was flowing fast, burning his body. We're going together. Lucien's smile looked kind of funny with his swollen mouth, but John could tell his determination. He laughed. There is another club in the kitchen. Let's go, just like when we were kids. Holding the club, Lucien comforted Aunt Eliza in a low voice when he passed by her. I'll watch him, don't worry. It was easy for them to find out where Jackson and his men went by asking around. When they were on their way, John asked Lucien, all of a sudden, Do you believe in justice, Lucien? Yes, I do. Why do you ask? John lowered his head but did not stop. I do too. But Lucien, I'm not as noble and brave as I claim to be. I do this only because you're my friend. If it was someone else, I don't know. I don't think I would. I'm used to picking my fights well, avoiding doing anything that would be beyond my capability. I'm selfish. I only want to protect my family and friends. I'm a coward, am I not? I don't think so. Every knight, or say every person, has a priority. Some pursue justice, some loyalty, some mercy. You choose family. Only when a person knows what he really wants to protect does he stick to justice. Or just it would be just like the clouds, nothing substantial. Lucien just realized that John was still a young lad like himself, no matter how mature he appeared to be. Thanks to the book about the knight's spirit from his mental library, he was scrambling up his sentences to comfort John. Now he was much better at looking up information among all the books in the library. You really think so? John still looked puzzled. Sure, if you are capable, will you protect the weak, fight against the wicked, and uphold justice? If I'm capable, of course I will. So, you're still a knight of justice. If you were not capable, you would fight and die for nothing. You gotta be able to protect yourself first. Only then you can protect those who need your help. Lucien felt he was quite suitable for being a mentor. John seemed relieved, and he started smiling. Every time I asked Lord Ven about this, he told me I was too inexperienced to understand. But Lucien, you have grown up too. You're good at comforting and maybe you're right. But I'm still longing for the genuine justice. Once, Lord Ven told us a story about a legendary knight sword. The sword had divine power inside, but looked just like the common ones. Its hilt was made purely of wood, without any gems, pearls, or anything out of ordinary. The nobles and high-level knights wouldn't take a second look at the sword. John's eyes were on the far distance and he continued. But actually, the sword was far more powerful than they thought, especially when it was used to fight against evil. What impressed me most was the words engraved on the sword. Justice is pale, compared with splendor and power, but everyone can be its representative, wealthy or poor, intelligent or illiterate, warrior or farmer. Justice is pale, but it is everywhere. Pale Justice, that's the name of the sword. It disappeared along with a grand Arcana knight in the dark mountain range. John became excited. His depression was gone. Lucien laughed. Then our slogan today is going to be for justice. For justice. John waved his club. A few minutes later, they saw Jackson, who was walking on the broad street of the market. A bunch of guys were still following him.
The story continues in chapter 16 in the next upload.